Mhm. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leprechaun Alley. My name is Carrie.
My name is Michael.
So, we are here to take live astrology readings by request. We combine Western and Eastern sciences, the terrestrial Chinese astrology. By when you give us your birthday and the year, that's where we provide the astrology reading from.
But we do a little more than just straight astrology. We use astrology as it pertains to many facets of our lives, how it deals with not only personal compatibilities, but how these astrological signs also prearrange many of the things that we're going to do, occupation, how we perceive the world, what we expect from ourselves and from each other. And of course, we'll get into topics such as political arguments that are going on, the trends of the day, the activities of the day, what's going on in the news. These are all pertain in some way to astrological interpretations, and hopefully, we make these things interesting for you.
So, yeah, so we just hang out and just have coffee talk in the meantime. And actually wanted to kind of catch you up the last couple of shows. So sorry. Mercury's definitely in retrograde. I definitely feel the influence. But actually, most of the time, Mercury in retrograde for me, because I know what it is, ends up being pretty productive and slows things down and helps me reset my mind. However, yeah, so there was somebody that we couldn't get a hold of that we were worried about, so we wanted to go to her house and make sure she was okay, and then I had a day because I'm doing a pretty intense, program with a naturopathic doctor, so I had a day where, like, all of my hot flashes, all of the stuff in my sinuses, everything, it wouldn't stop, and I couldn't speak, and I nothing, it didn't stop until about 6 o'clock at night. So if some of you have done some crazy stuff, using natural medicine, then you'll appreciate that sometimes these processes take over. So uh, I got it under control now, and thank you all very much. So, and I also wanted to just make a point or bring up that our prayers go out and that our hearts are heavy. There are so many mass shootings that are happening right now, and it always tracks with inflation. We know that corporations are profiting more than ever. So if their expenses went up, their profits shouldn't have. It's just that simple. Um, so just take a moment every day and just send them all some love.
We would like to remind everybody who is watching this podcast that if they have any interest in a reading, we provide free readings at their request by simply typing in the information while they're in the chat room. And we will give a free overall reading, nothing very complex, but very interesting in you nonetheless. So you're welcome to take advantage of this free service. And
And if there are any other topics that you want to discuss, please post in the comments. If you're watching the video later on, we'd be happy to address anything that comes up for you.
to talk about these mass shootings
Oh,
from an astrological point of view, we are currently in the year of the tiger, and more properly, the water tiger.
uh,
And why is that significant? Because what is known about the tiger, and of course, the tiger is right now the governing animal over society, because during the years it covers our society, it covers mankind in general. It's in effect all over the earth. The tiger is notorious for being a rebel, for
yes.
having for down with the old, up with the new. They're the anarchists of the Chinese Zodiac. And of course, they correspond to the anarchist sign of the Western zodiac, and that is the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the man with 1 foot on Earth, 1 foot in the space. They're the ones that are down with the old and up with the new. Uh, Interestingly, Marxism is a product of from the tiger or from Aquarius,
Ah,
and Marxism is uh, a philosophy that was to empower the human being at his natural core. Now, why do I mention the water tiger? Because we have here already an energy that wants to rebel with
revolution.
what is
Mhm.
consistent with our present economic and political atmosphere. And we also are in a, we have to consider the element of the year. We happen to be in a water year. And why is that significant? Because water is unstable. It's moving. It has extremes from the
Yes.
most extreme subtle to the most extreme outrageous. A monsoon, or
A
should I say,
tsunami,
tsunamis
tidal
occur.
waves. Mhm.
Tidal waves occur because of a slight flicker at the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
It is expressed this way, that this flicker is very, very subtle, because at the bottom of the ocean, it doesn't have much movement. The weight of water is incredible. So,
Yes.
but as this little slight quiver begins to elevate itself, because all things get pushed out of, when they're under pressure, they get pushed out of where they are.
Right.
We know that rocks grow out of the ground. Things move. Nothing stays still. So this quiver eventually starts to work its way up. As it works its way up, it grows monumentally. By the time it reaches the surface, it becomes a major monsoon. It becomes tidal waves that just
Yeah.
cannot even be measured. So what we have is the unexpected shock that comes from something that wasn't just right. And of course, if we look at our society in the last uh, 40, 50, maybe 60 years, we have had a tremendous amount of injustice in terms of the way we are treating one another as the human class. There are very few people that are taking very drastic controls from the masses, and they're causing suffering because they're exploiting basically the masses. So the shootings are a result of a violent reaction. It is the
An
undercurrent
expression of the pressure.
eventually reaching the surface. So we're having a surface reaction.
But I also want to add that is what's happening as well right now, is that this generation, they're called the Gen Zers. They are kicking butt and taking names. They are creating unions. They are organizing. They have found their center, their core. I got to still do some digging and really line this up. But their Neptune is located in Aquarius, and the revolutionary people that came, their cohort correspondents, they were the boomers. Their Neptune was in Libra, in the air signs.
What we should tell the audience is that Neptune, which is one of the outer planets,
Right, an
is
indicator of
not.
generations.
It's not really used to.
It's
make
not really for personal
It's
astrology.
not really used to look at the progression of individual growth and individual expression, because it takes too long to go through one single sign,
Right.
30 degrees of the zodiac. And so it's more properly used to evaluate the movement of mass consciousness.
Yes.
And so Neptune now becomes a factor in what's going on. Neptune is a planet that implies nebula, confusion,
Mhm.
vastness, where one can get lost. But by the same token, it also gives rise to some of the most idealistic ideas, the most uh, generous ideas for mankind. So we have the year of the tiger, which is a formidable force. And the result is that you're going to have this monsoon, or we're going to have a tiger that's wakened and it's on the prowl. It's
Oh,
not
Michael,
sleeping.
we have a visitor. Her
Okay.
name is Monica Russo.
Oh, okay.
And so what she said is okay for anyone watching. These two are very, very good at their reading and explaining everything happening now in a manner that is easy to follow. This couple's looks on the astrology is fabulous. Oh, thank you.
Well,
We
thank you,
love
Monica.
you.
Thank you.
This is our very dear,
Monica
sweet
is the
niece.
Monica comes from the great dragon.
Yes,
The dragon
this is one
rules.
fearless woman.
Right, the dragon rules.
Yeah.
It doesn't move often, but when it moves heaven and earth.
Hmm.
And this is the dragon's uh, brand. It doesn't move unless it's necessary, and when
Yeah.
it does, it has a purpose, and it follows that purpose to the T. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Of course, the dragon's going to have a good year this year,
Yeah.
and it's the Earth dragon, so she has a handle on herself
We're hoping that the house comes soon.
because we're in the water dragon, in the water tiger, and Monica we know happens to be an Earth dragon. The Earth dragon is very, very stable. In fact, oftentimes underexpressed.
Yes.
Does not it keeps its cool, but when it
Mhm.
explodes,
Oh,
we
mother of
don't want to
God.
be around.
No.
We don't want to be around. In any event, because we have the year of the tiger, this this monsoon that's taking place, it's destructive. But as in all cases when nature has these destructive forces present, we find that at the end of this chaos, some orderliness and new spirit rises, and we succumb the all the negativity that is at hand, only to find that a lot of things are going to get corrected, and hopefully this water tiger will not disappoint. There should be a lot of humanistic changes because the tiger is not altogether. It has, yeah, on one side it's supposed to be a humanistic sign because it's friendly to humankind, but on the other side, when it wakes up, it is so ferocious that the last thing you would think of with the tiger is humanistic qualities.
Right.
But the tiger can make no discrimination when it
Right.
has to act and change the order of business.
Right.
It has to make that change. And the tiger's purpose is that if it wakes up, it's going to take care of business. There is no ifs, ands, and buts
That's right.
about it. Um, Things have to be rearranged, corrected, things that are no longer necessary or that are out of order, such as the conditions of the economic um atmosphere that we're living in now.
Yeah. The last
Uh,
water tiger was 1962.
right, 1962 would have been the last water tiger.
And that's my very dear cousin that actually went through breast cancer with me as well, was born that year.
Mm.
Also, another Gemini and
Well,
incredible
yes,
human being.
but in either case, what we are, what each time that uh, an animal returns, it returns at a slightly different octave from before.
Exactly.
So this tiger is going to be different from the 62 tiger, which was also water, in that we have to consider where the fact that um, other planets are moving around and creating different configurations, different interpretations, different results. Hopefully, this tiger is going to improve the condition of mankind in that it's going to attempt to rectify the injustices that have been ongoing. And we know that there are injustices all over the world. We have a very, very tiny population. exploiting and controlling a large population.
Yes.
Let's say 2% against 98%. The 2% is completely outrageously in control, and there seems to be no hope that they'll change. They're just, it's like somebody who's gone crazy mad with hunger, but they're not hungry anymore. They're just greedy,
Right.
and the greed and who knows no boundary. It never reaches a point at where it's satisfied. And this is true of what's going on in our society right now.
It's also this incredible thirst and desire for power. Desire. And I can see in a way where, we all feel like, you know what, let me have a shot at it. Maybe I can do better. Maybe I can, we all kind of get that internal drive. But the thing is that the people that rise are the people that don't, when they can do better, it's not for humanity.
Well,
It's for the some incredibly self-serving.
the big problem is that mankind basically is, let's put it bluntly, lazy.
Hmm.
Lazy in the fact that we let things alone the way they are. And so we have a few that are busybodies that are busy telling lies, grouping themselves together with other people who tell lies, creating situations in which we have a Congress and a Senate, and not only in the United States, but mostly in every country, there's a similar force, a similar gathering of the same kind of people that get together, and then they start to create laws that are designed to empower the very few, the cronies, together. And the problem is that the masses are just not paying attention. They're just willing to go along with things as they are because it's easier to just leave it alone. I mean, after all, if you like to sit on the couch, which is starting to happen to me at my age, you don't want to get up out of the couch anymore. So you let things go. It doesn't matter. You don't care anymore. But when I was younger, and as all of us, when we were more naive, and we were starting with goodwill, as most children do start with,
That's right.
we didn't follow through and didn't go and pay attention to who we were electing. We just simply listened to the stupidest things that come out of these people's mouths. And then we elect them because they're saying these little buzzwords that stand out, and they become the order of the day, rather than the order of the day should be that each individual should go home, sit back, think out all the things that they heard, do some research when they don't know, talk to their friends who might be more, let's say, well versed in some of the matters of what's going on politically and economically.
Be
But,
open-minded
but we don't do
and be
this.
prepared to be wrong in your thinking. If you want to fix the problem, it's okay to be wrong. You want to correct incorrect thinking.
What seems to
Yeah.
be okay with most of human beings is that,
Humility will save
so
your life.
what, so what, let things go on. It's going to be okay as long as I can eat a little bit and I have a roof over my head. And that seems to be this laissez-faire, let it go, don't, who cares? And as a result, you see how the small number of people are squeezing the life out of the populace. And now we have a water tiger in which we're getting reaction. Hopefully, hopefully, the reaction is going to result in something positive
Right.
that is sustaining and that will provide new insights and a way out of the current situation. This cannot last. Anyone with any brain power can simply analyze that you cannot continue torturing the major part of society and expect to keep getting away with it.
That's
At
right.
some point, it will collapse, and we are seeing a result of that now.
And
Because,
we're due for another JFK. We are.
well, this
And then
is
hopefully this time it won't.
this is the tiger, and the only thing that I worry about the tiger is that it once it decides to go back to sleep, everything is over with the tiger. So we may not get the full response that we should be getting, at least as I see as the tiger, because the tiger, once it falls asleep, it doesn't care what's happening,
That's true.
and it'll let it go longer and longer and longer. We may get more out of the cat, which is the following year,
Right. But it
because
makes sense too, right? Revolution, and then the cat becomes union.
because the
And you
cat
have to break up all the
wants,
stupid ideas that were wrong. We
and,
have to break them up.
also the cat wants comfort,
That's right.
and it's going to, if it's going to make any changes, it's going to see through it until those changes accommodate the cat,
That's right.
and not that it just simply goes back to sleep. And of
Right.
course, the cat, if it acts properly, it prepares for a major change when the year of the dragon follows.
That's right.
And the year of the
That's right.
dragon may bring the most shocking changes, because, as we know, the church had shocking changes when Martin Luther, the German uh, uh, priest, uh, decided to go against the church because of they were selling indulgences, and as a
And
result of
stealing,
Martin
and yeah.
Luther, who fought the church, and the church tried to kill him, the German princes saved Martin Luther by giving him shelter as he escaped from one castle to another. But
And we
because of
ended up
Martin,
with another sect, yeah,
because of
with
Martin
Protestants.
Luther, the Lutheran Church was founded, and then right after that, the Calvinists in France came out of that. So the Protestant religion came out of as a result of Martin Luther, whom I mentioned Martin Luther because Martin Luther was born in the year of the dragon,
Right.
and more than that, he was also born in the month of Scorpio. These are very powerful
Yeah.
signs together,
Yeah.
because the dragon, which is related to the sign Aries, and Scorpio, which is related to the Chinese year of the pig, these are the two fighting signs, the two war signs. They're the ones that are used by society to advance society's interests. They are used to fight the battles to protect their society, and each one has a different uh, specialty. The dragon causes the shock,
Right.
and
Well, Joan of Arc also.
and the pig will move in and secure the win. Of course, Joan of Arc was
Capricorn
a
dragon.
Capricorn dragon, notorious for being an incredible fighter, a
Yeah.
woman fighter,
Yeah.
and who won wars for the
Right.
French. And she was, again, the year of the dragon. So this this kind of reaction we're having right now with the tiger, my great concern is that it will not last fully. It's going to be quenched, as it always is, by the small number of the people in power, because the tiger will eventually want to go to sleep.
Right.
And when the tiger sleeps, then nothing matters. It will be the cat that will stir and stir and stir. The cat will come next year, in the year 2003.
Right. Or
23,
2023, yeah.
2023. And 2024 will be the wood dragon. The dragon will come in its own element.
That's right.
And this will be the year which should have some great ramifications. As the wood is subtle and it doesn't make itself known right away, but it will act thoroughly, because the wood is represented by the roots of the plant. It really is not, it's improperly called wood year, but it's really the plant year. But the Chinese didn't want to call somebody a plant, so they called it the year of wood, or the plant that with roots. And that's what
Hello.
wood represents. So onward with that, and you wanted
I
to
was
talk a
looking
little
up
more about
I was
what's the
actually
subject of the day.
interesting. So, yeah, well, I just think that I wanted to kind of stay with that dragon theme for a minute, and also,
Well, we're talking about Monica now. Back to
yeah,
Monica. Mhm.
and who was also a mystic as well. Um, when I was going to say also, when Michael was talking about the tiger, what happened the following year of 1963, when we're talking about when the tiger goes back to sleep, what happened? JFK was assassinated.
Right, right.
November 22nd,
And they
1963.
put the tiger to sleep.
Put the tiger to sleep.
Right.
So,
It was 1963 was the cat, and
mhm,
the people in power subdued the cat by destroying the head, and the head was John F. Kennedy.
yep.
Uh, he was the representative of this
He was,
new
yeah,
change,
standing up to the
this new
military-industrial
order,
complex. That's
this
right.
new way of looking at the world in a more compassionate way. So it ended with John F. Kennedy being shot.
Yeah,
In 1964, what happened is that it was the dragon, and the dragon had duty, and the duty was the call for war.
that's right.
And so the
And
dragon
that's
is
right.
always going to answer the call of war because, again, the dragon and the pig in the Chinese zodiac are the two that correspond to duty for mankind. They are there to uh, perform a duty to save their society, their country, their religion, whatever the cause may be. That's what they're there for. So hopefully, we're going to have a little bit of a twisted change.
Well, I wanted to add, more like looking at the Protestants, because even though I thought I wanted to make this point, even though they made this change and the change is important, it's important to say, guess what? You are not the only owner of spirituality. You are not the sole authority.
Hmm.
But what they did is they actually became more austere. And what did result is a lot of oppression, these crusades, a lot of that, a lot of,
The Protestant movement was a major, major, major
but
movement.
it was also, but it wasn't, not all of it. I mean, there are plenty of, like,
You never expected that would have happened because the church had such a
right,
lock on the entire universe.
exactly. So I want to make the point is that because a dragon represents special forces, their interpretation of their duty at that time was to make a radical break from the Vatican.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
And in the process of our
I
spiritual
mean, the
growth,
Vatican
right,
was a total charge. They made up all the rules. They could arrest people, take people at will,
that's right.
without even a law being passed.
That's right. And we actually lived through that. We've had to live through many generations of learning,
Centuries of
centuries
that
of,
went
yep,
on
and learning how to
until
not
Martin
do that.
Luther, until it took a
Well, even in
man
the US,
who
Michael.
owned the two
Yeah.
fighting forces and as a Catholic. I thought
Hmm.
Protestants were bad people or it was a
Right. I
bad
was taught
thing.
that Catholics
They
were
were
satanic.
bad. They were bad. They were bad. As I became more and more of an adult, I began to realize that thank God for
Yeah.
Protestantism,
Yeah.
because it brought in reason. It brought in something more than the nonsense that the church had.
The endless abuse of power.
Right.
The responsibility for your spirituality rests in you.
It took away
Yeah.
the power from the popes because the popes no longer can do what they did before Protestantism. Before
Right.
Protestant became a major movement that challenged the church and really cut the church down in size.
Well, doesn't Pisces represent the Catholic Church?
Oh yes,
So, and
oh
of
yeah,
course, what would happen is a dragon would come along.
right,
It's a natural progression.
right, exactly.
But it's painful. And the thing is that while it's important for us to fight for our rights and demand more from the leaders that we elect, it still is upon us to reach across the aisle, it not politically, personally, and have a conversation with people that have contradicting opinions, because And if you don't address anybody's humanity and you don't take it upon yourself to do so, it doesn't matter who you elect because we're not going to be educated and organized enough and learning about other people and other cultures to be able to be wise enough to elect the correct leaders for our time. We can't, I will say this, we can't let the government do this for us. We have to do it ourselves. It's both.
We look at change. It's been going very, very
Oh,
slow.
Mo runs. Oh, it's so good to see you. Thank you for coming.
We look
Oh,
at change and we see it move so slowly. Uh, when you consider the kind of change that we've experienced technologically, we're moving at light speed technologically. But when it comes to morally and spiritually, we're crawling. I mean, the church still has
because of
too
this
much power.
message. Yep, of
The
externalizing.
church still
Yep.
thinks it can give these almighty laws. They have been experiencing some challenges with the problem with the priests and what was that
Oh, yeah, the sexual.
the harassment charges
No,
and all
the
that.
yeah, they were sexual. They had sexually molested
They have been able to
altar
maneuver
boys, and yeah,
around, and the
awful.
church is, as long as the church remains a strong power, we will not see the change we want.
I
Um,
forgot my water. Can I get a little sip of yours and a
sure,
tissue?
of course, of
Sorry.
course. Here you go.
Thank you.
It's got a little lemon in it.
Nice.
So the fact is that these changes that we're experiencing are not moving quick enough. It really will require that the masses starts to really tighten their belt
It's an inside job.
and step up to the job.
It's an inside job.
They can take power away back because there is no small number of people that will can control the masses once the masses
Are
start
awake.
to move.
Oh, and Mo runs. I love it. The problem I have is the rules placed by the church are rules made by man, not God.
Well,
Exactly.
of course,
Exactly.
that's exactly
That's
what we're
right.
talking about.
That's right. Right. And so that's where I want to go. That's where I was going to
The
steer this for.
Catholic
Yeah.
Church, first of all, Christianity was created by a small
Yes.
number
Let's
of
have this
people.
conversation.
A small number of people
I want to
created the
rant.
Catholic Church. It did not exist before that. It was the Roman, one of the Constantinople, who
Yeah. By the
caused.
way, Jesus had a bar mitzvah, baby. Sorry, but he's a Jew.
Oh yeah, well,
You know,
there's no question about
get
it.
a bar mitzvah.
The whole
Don't get that
religion,
twisted.
the whole religion came out of the Jewish faith.
Exactly.
I
Or
mean, this is the
an
biggest.
expropriation of artificial.
This is one of the things the church has been able to get away with for so
I
long
mean, it just
because
completely left out the
because the
Kabbalah, the
masses don't
Talmud.
want to
Yeah,
pay attention.
it's
All
ridiculous.
the masses have heard that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, which
Right.
was Israel.
And then they come, and then Jewish people, they're raised. At least my Jewish friends. This is what they tell me. Okay, they're raised challenging and having conversations and arguing. Why do you think there's so many lawyers that are Jewish? That's it's
Because
their nature.
the Jews
That's how they're
have a
trained.
tradition to
And then
have
we come up with
open
this religion that said, no, we're an absolute authority, don't ask questions, but we're associated with the Jews and made no sense.
the Jews have
Oh,
the proper attitude about philosophy and
yes.
religious instructions.
Yeah,
They debate these all the time.
exactly.
It's not like the
And they're
Catholic.
still Jewish if they do it.
Right. It's not like the Catholic faith, which you have to be lockstep and you've got to
We can
follow
excommunicate
the
you.
order. I mean, let's take a look at the church. Who are the Jesuits? The Jesuits are the hit force of that belongs to the church. They go out and execute the enemies. They go out and execute people who are planning to enlighten the people. And they send these Jesuits all over the world to perform
Yes,
executions.
they operate as a political institution around the
Executions.
world.
And people know this, and yet it's accepted because the church says boo and everybody goes ooh instead of what do you mean boo? We know what you're doing. We've read what you're doing. We've seen what you're doing.
So I want to go. What I do is I want to go on a little rant about how much BS the Pauline gospel is.
I
Because,
was raised a Catholic, and I am ashamed of the Catholic Church and everything that it stands for.
well,
Everything it stands
I
for.
actually find that I really like a lot of Catholic
Well,
priests. They're profound and
let's say
intense and
there's about maybe 10,
brilliant.
15% of the Catholic ideology that has any real meaningful value.
Right. And I think that with any spiritual practice, you're going to find the people that are really connected,
But
that really plugged in the right way.
but the way
Yeah.
the way the
But the
small
political part of it is evil.
the way
Yeah.
groups take over is that they preach a certain amount of what is good.
Well, Paul is the one that decided to leave reincarnation out of the Bible. He's the one that decided that he wasn't going to
And
give them phase 2
and
of the meditation that Jesus was teaching, of the great mystery that Jesus taught.
and the thing about Paul is he was never an apostle. This is another joke.
Right. He said
He
that.
was a sheriff that went chasing after the apostles.
And the other thing is that, by the way, because he did know the apostles and Paul or Peter and gosh, I can't think of it right at the top. But Peter, I know Peter for sure.
John, Peter,
They weren't
Thomas,
okay.
Martin.
They weren't okay with the way that Paul was doing things.
No,
Jesus is,
no.
but what he did is he went to Greece, wrote these letters to Greece.
Right,
These
right,
people
right.
really didn't know that much about
Because
Judaism or Jesus.
because all of the writings at the time were in Greek.
And he just pushed this message that Jesus died for your sins and he will save you.
Right.
And you know what? That's not bad. I mean, if people are really disorganized and you want to start there and get them dialed in and get them to build houses, fine.
But this is what
But you can't
amazes.
deny them the rest of the teaching.
This is what
That's cynical and evil.
the most
That guy's got
aggravating
bad karma as far as I'm concerned. Look at how much damage he did.
most aggravating thing about the Catholic Church is that it has um, disseminated the biggest lie on the planet. We don't have a Jesus. We go looking for one.
I
And
don't
the
agree
Bible
with that.
and the
I
Bible.
believe that he was a real person, but Michael
No,
has,
no. There was no real person because
Yes, there
it
was.
describes the what the hell are they called? The Gospels have there are at least 4 different Jesuses that they talk about because of the background that they describe. There are 4 different individuals that played the part of Jesus according to the Gospels.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And
Yeah,
Jesus did
right.
not exist.
There is, yeah.
He did not exist. Paul invented Jesus. And it's that simple because everything written about Jesus and all the Gospels come more than 500 years after supposedly Jesus
Excuse me.
died.
I'm sorry. Oh,
What's going on?
there's somebody knocking on the door.
Well, whoever it is, they better just leave. We didn't. We are disposed to people coming here anytime they want, but they have to call. In any event, Carrie is taking care of a visitor that we did not expect here. So we're momentarily in suspense, but the suspense will be over soon. Well, it looks like a delivery that we did not expect. In any event, getting back to this whole thing, Carrie and I have a disagreement about the Catholic religion. As you can see, she is still being influenced by the fact that the church says there was a Jesus, but I have been a student of my religion all my life, and I have studied many religions of the earth, and I have come to the conclusion there was no Jesus. In any event, so much for whatever it is. The church has given so many lies that for anyone to believe anything that came from the church has got to be an incredible. I don't know. It is almost obscene the way human beings have accepted what few people who call themselves Episcopal, the visceral, the whatever the hell the high order of the priests, besides the Pope, the archbishops,
Oh, the
and
archbishop.
the bishops, and
Okay.
the viscerals, and
Mm.
these people go around lying to us, and we accept it because people can't believe that other people would lie to us.
Yes.
This is one of the problems with humanity. We simply accept things because somebody else said it. And then what makes matters worse is when they write it down. Oh my God, now that it's written, now they
I
sit
just
in front of the pulpit, and all of them, both the Protestant and religious guys, they get there with their damn Bible in their hand, and they read from the Bible. It's written down. And because it's written down, it's the word of the universe. Not even God, but the word of the universe, because it's written. So if I'm talking, people will sit there and say, that's just Michael Perillo's idea. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But if they were to read my book 100 years after I die, 1,000 years after I die, 1,000 years after I die, it could become a new religion because it was written down.
right.
All right? And that's the problem with humanity. The problem with humanity is there's a failure of his intellect to work in his behalf. There's a failure to think clearly, to think. What makes sense? Does any of this stuff make sense? Does any of the things that the church has said about humanity make any sense? That we all go to hell because we had a bad thought. We have to go to church and tell the priest that we had a bad thought. Now the question becomes, what constitutes a bad thought? Could be anything.
Right.
Killing is a bad thought. Having sex is a bad thought. Imagine having sex is a bad thought. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I was taught that sex was dirty. I was raised a Catholic. Let's try to remember. I was born in 1946. I was raised a Catholic, and at the time we were not allowed to read the Bible. Because if anyone reads the New Testament, first they'll find out that it's a very fragmented document. It's been completely torn apart by the ecumenical councils of 540 AD and I think 1300, where they got together, the church got together and decided what would be acceptable as a religion. They founded a religion. It was not Jesus. It was the ecumenical council. It was the Roman Empire. So we now have what they call the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church. This is the aftermath of the Roman Empire that fell.
Well, I want to add to this, Michael, because I'm actually reading a book right now called The Enlightened Jesus.
All right, I understand the enlightened Jesus. There was no Jesus. How can you have an enlightened
Well,
Jesus?
okay, so it's okay for you
I
to
wanna have a
have
drink.
that orientation, but please don't shut me down.
Hmm.
Um, and
I'm
because I
not
don't
going to shut you down.
because I don't
The more
share
you talk, the more I will be proven right.
because I don't share that position.
Of
However,
course,
I
you
want to
don't
say
have to. That's the
this.
problem with
So I
mankind.
want to say this. So what happened was a student of Paul's, who was a priest, his name is Irenaeus. Anybody that taught
I don't
about
care what name you give
anybody
these
that
people.
taught, he was well, I'm not trying to persuade you.
You're reciting what was written. I hear you. So just at least say that you read this.
Yes.
Okay, let's get it clear.
Right.
Remember one of the things I said. When it's written down, all of a sudden, it becomes the truth of the universe. And all I say is, damn with what's written, because it was written by another human being, and it was a thought before he wrote it down. And his thinking was just as erroneous as perhaps his mind. At least that much is fair. That his thinking was just as bad as mine, or just as good as mine. We've got to give that as an even playing field. That has to be true.
Oh, okay.
It's written down, but I don't have it written down. I have things that I've written. I have ideas that I've written. I just have been buried in.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do now, but okay.
Well, but
I'm done.
no, you talk to this about this guy who his name was Hieronymus or Eretus or whatever his name was. You're saying what you were talking
I'm
about.
completely invalidated. It's
Well,
really insignificant
then
now.
you know what? It just went to prove to you how weak your position is. Because if it
Okay.
wasn't, you'd have a lot of back a backbone behind what you have to
I
say.
just don't have the strength to try to overwhelm
Well,
you
no,
right
it's
now.
I'm
You're
not.
in a very passionate
Am I
state, and there's
wrestling
nothing
you?
yeah,
I didn't.
you
All I
are.
told you was that it was written, and you didn't answer.
I did say, I said, "Yeah, it was written. I read it. Yeah,
Well,
it's in this book."
then,
Yeah.
and what did I say about writing that you laughed about and you agreed? That it was written down, all of a sudden becomes the law because it's written. They hand in their hands, they walk around with it, and they open chapter such and such, paragraph such and such, and then they start off and they start telling people nonsense.
So basically, don't read anything that's written,
No, you know what I say?
and because it's worthless.
I'll
I mean,
tell
that's
you.
where I am now.
All right, I'll tell
So
you
I don't know
how.
how I'm going to learn how to do other
Well,
things.
I'll tell you how I measure the truth.
I
I
mean,
measure the truth this way. Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense,
okay.
I don't care where you read it, or who wrote it,
Mm-hmm.
or who thinks about it, whether it's a Theosophical Society
Mm-hmm.
or some psychologist
This is
or
really awful, by
whatever.
the way.
If it doesn't make sense, there's something wrong with it. That's all I say.
Okay.
You can have an argument with me. I won't sit there and tell you you're wrong.
No, I don't want to do that.
Well, because I won't do
I'm
that
not
to
here for
you.
that.
Because I won't do that to you. So that's where you and I differ. All I say is, does it make sense?
Well, I'm at the point if I read something, it's all invalid. So what's the point of me sharing
Let me
it?
put it this way: do you believe that the people that once occupied, let's say, Peru, the ancient Incas, do you think that those people were philosophically wrong in their religious practices?
I don't.
You don't know about it, but my question is a simple, open question. Do you think that they were wrong in their thinking, or any people in their thinking, whether it be the Christians, the Catholics, the Protestants?
My baseline for whether something is right or wrong is if you're trying to impose your will on somebody that doesn't want
Oh
it.
no, you're looking at it from
Yes,
power. I am
that's
not this.
exactly my baseline.
I am not injecting power here. All I
Okay,
said was,
well,
I said,
it's your
does it
show.
make sense? That has nothing to do
I believe
with,
it does, but it doesn't matter because
well,
I have to somehow prove myself to
no,
you,
no,
and there's no
no,
reason for
no.
that.
Make sense.
It's just
Make sense of it.
it makes sense to me,
Makes sense that
but
there's a
if it doesn't make sense to
makes
you, I
sense
have
that
control over
makes
that.
sense that there's a man that was the son of God. Makes sense out of that. That's all I got to say. Makes sense out of that. Because this is what the Catholic religion did.
Mhm.
It turned a man into the son of God. Like what's the rest of
Yes, but
us?
it doesn't have
What
anything
are
to
the
do with what I was saying.
Carrie?
So
Well, I'm asking it. This is an open forum.
I have nothing to say
But there's still
to
an
what you're
open
saying.
forum. This is still. If you don't want to have this discussion, then we should not have this program anymore. You're
I
either
do
going to
want to have the
discuss it to it.
discussion, but you're overwhelming me.
Well,
You're shutting me
yeah,
down.
I am giving you
I don't
all
want
the
to
open
argue.
space. I'm willing to listen to all the
I
open
want
space.
you to give your perspective and me to give mine and not to be shut
Carrie,
down. And that's it. And
I
I don't want to do
established
anything else.
I established a grounds upon which we can find agreement. And that grounds is, does it make sense?
Yeah.
We have the church declaring a man the son of God, which is the biggest bullshit on this
Yeah,
planet.
but that's not the dispute we're having, and that's not what shut me
Well,
down.
that starts off the whole
You
premise.
said, "Oh, you read and it was written."
Carrie,
So great.
Carrie,
So
just
now that's it. So
I-
I have no validity because it was written, and you're establishing if it's
all
written,
right.
it's
You're
wrong.
talking, but
That's
you're
the
not.
premise.
You're talking, but
you gave me the
you're
premise.
talking,
you have
but
to
you-
address the things that I'm saying to you. You're not being fair right now.
I'm going to get off the program. You're talking, but you're not making it. You're not establishing a line upon which we can have a dialogue.
You're not.
I'm asking you. Does it make sense
It does to me, and
that
I
a
said that
man
yes,
is called
but not from the
the
church.
son of
No, we're
from
all
anybody?
we are all God, Michael. It does make sense.
But that's why.
But the church doesn't decide
But
that.
that's. But then you don't
They
understand.
tried, but
then
they
you
were not
don't
the ones who
understand.
decide that.
Then you don't understand what I'm disagreeing with. Okay. All I said was the church created false ideas about everything.
Well, I agree with that.
And this idea about a Jesus is just as false as everything else that they
I
did.
don't agree with that.
Well, they're the ones that created all
They're
of
not
this.
the only
It
ones that
was
talked
the
about him.
church. It was
wasn't just him.
Constantinople.
It was not the
It
church.
was Constantinople who ordered the Bible the way it
There
is
are the
put.
Dead Sea Scrolls. There's the
The
Book
Dead
of
Sea
Enoch.
Scrolls did
There are
not go
all the
into the
writings that-
Bible.
No, they didn't.
no,
But they
they
still
didn't.
established that there was a Jesus.
Carrie, from what other
And the
people
church
have,
said that that can't happen.
from what other people have, I'm only concerned about what's become popular. I'm only concerned about what's running this.
But I'm okay with you being like that.
I have nothing more to say. Let's end the conversation. This podcast is over with. Till the next time. Goodbye. I've got nothing to say. You don't want to have a debate. You want to just.
No, I don't. I
Well,
just want to have a conversation.
Then there was nothing for you and I to discuss anymore. If we cannot have an orderly subject upon which we can debate it, then what's the point of us talking about it?
Okay, so, well, it looks like this is the Astrology Jerry Springer show. So, we're going to try again. Try again. Apologies. Okay. So, okay. This is what gave me cancer.
When you wake up,
I can't do it. So, okay, so I guess that's the conclusion today. Apologies, all our love, and travel light.
all my love, my ass. I have nothing to say.